All right. So what happens when somebody who is elected pledges allegiance to another country? Well, first of all, it's a violation of your oath, but let me get into the story. Congresswoman Delia Ramirez stood this week on foreign soil speaking in Spanish at a summit in Mexico City, and she said, and I'd like to quote, "I am a proud Guatemalan before I'm an American." Now, this isn't all. Her husband also is in this country illegally. That's not me saying that. That's the Rolling Stone, which reported that a couple of years ago. So let this sink in here for a minute. This is a sitting member of Congress, sworn to uphold the Constitution, says she's a Guatemalan before she's an American. Meanwhile, her household, she defies the immigration laws that she just swore to protect and defend. All right, this is not a gaffe. This is not a misquote. This is intentional, and it is happening over and over and over again. We have people, Ilhan Omar, she is a Somali before she's an American. Those are her words. This is not about heritage or cultural pride. You can't say you don't love the country of your ancestors. I mean, Tanya's family is so great, because they come from Italy. They're Italian Americans, but they would never say they're Italian American. They're Americans. Where's your family from? Italy. And they're proud of that. And I love that they have mixed that, and it has become very American. I love that. But when you separate yourself and you are an Italian first, there is no way anybody in Tanya's family throughout history would have ever said. In fact, her uncle Leo, I've talked about a million times, he was born here in America while they were on vacation. They went back to Italy, but he was the only natural-born citizen. He was the only citizen. When the war came, they were afraid that the entire family was going to be wiped out. So what did he do? He came to America. But instead of just sitting collecting things, he's like 18 years old. He enlisted in the U.S. Army. And because he had a heavy Italian accent, everybody thought, he's a spy. And so he got the worst of the worst. He was on one of the first boats for D-Day. When that gate came down, he was one of the first to try to make the mad dash to the cliff. Why? Because he's obviously a spy. He was proudly an American. When you serve in Congress, when you sit on the committee for the Homeland Security, you're not just representing voters. You're representing the sovereignty of the United States of America. You are part of the body tasked to defend our borders, its laws, and yes, its identity. And I am sick and tired, and I won't play the game, and nor should you, that our identity is worse than anybody else's, that our identity somehow or another doesn't matter. Our identity as American, we changed the world. Now, you can be proud of that while also being ashamed of some of the things we did when we beat our chest, when we went awry, when we went away from our Constitution and the Declaration of Independence. When we get away from that, we're screwed. We screw everything up. Well, we're doing that now. She should be denaturalized, deported. Maybe. That's what some members of Congress are calling for. She certainly should be kicked off the Homeland Security Committee. She should probably be kicked out of Congress. You cannot have your loyalty to another country over your loyalty to the United States of America. I mean, when will we start taking allegiance seriously again? When? The founders were really clear. Let's look at this historically. George Washington, in his farewell address, warned about foreign entanglements. And we always think that is, we shouldn't get involved in foreign wars. Yes, it is. It is. Do you know why you have to be a a naturally born citizen of the United States to serve as president? You can't be some Arnold Schwarzenegger. Everybody's like, I'd let Arnold Schwarzenegger be president. I'd let Elon Musk be president. I wouldn't. Because they weren't born here. Now, that is in our Constitution. And why? Because the founders feared that you would have an alliance that would be above the United States of America. You would say, in Elon Musk's case, you know what? I really am more loyal to South America or South Africa than I am the United States. Or Arnold Schwarzenegger, I'm more aligned with Austria than the United States. Neither of those guys will say that. Neither of those guys believe that. But we have members of Congress who say, I am more aligned, and it is more the country that I have the heart for is Somalia or Guatemala over the United States. Why are you serving? That's what foreign entanglements, it's not just military alliances. He wrote of the danger of foreign influence and corruption, noting that allegiance divided is allegiance denied. Now, that's George Washington. We all know Theodore Roosevelt. Theodore Roosevelt didn't believe in hyphenated Americans. There's only Americans. There is no room, quoting him, there is no room in this country for hyphenated Americanism. Now, that is obviously not a swipe at immigrants. It was a call to unify under one flag, one set of laws, one national destiny. That's why we're the melting pot. That's why we came together. That's why we could do incredible things. Because people came and brought the best of their culture with them, but they melted and wanted to be an American. And when dual loyalties creep into the halls of power, that's when a republic crumbles. That's when you're over. And it's not from without, it's from within. And as I said, Congresswoman Ramirez, her comments didn't happen in a vacuum. They come at a time when Donald Trump has made immigration central to the campaign, ending birthright citizenship, ramping up ICE arrest, deporting those who break our laws, apparently except for her husband. And what's the reaction? Outrage. Outrage from the same people who, want our borders open, sanctuary cities, policies that blur, if not erase, the line between citizen and non-citizen. They want that gone. This isn't political. It's not a political line anymore. This is a spiritual one. This is a moral one. This is a constitutional line. And now, with her own words and her own associations, she's drawn that line in the sand. On one side is America. On the other side is Guatemala. And she, by her own words, made her choice. Guatemala. Now, the question is, does Congress even care? Will Congress and the American people choose America over Guatemala or Somalia or any other place? Will we say it matters? So here's what happens. This is what I believe should absolutely happen immediately. She needs to immediately be removed from Homeland Security or immigration-related committees. If you don't believe in national sovereignty, you should not be managing our national sovereignty. There should be a full investigation into her husband's immigration status. No one in this country, not even the spouse of the Congresswoman, should be above the law. If Melania Trump had come here illegally, I would say exactly the same thing. No one is above the law. Citizenship loyalty review. Boy, this really sounds scary. You want a citizenship loyalty review? Yeah. Yeah, we've had one in the past, and I think we should reintroduce it. Because that is the oath of office, the oath of allegiance. And that has to be a binding standard for those who are serving. Are you allegiant? Do you pledge allegiance to our flag, our country, our Constitution? And if you can't say with real full conviction, oh, yeah, absolutely, of course, that your allegiance is with the United States of America, well, then you don't belong in government. If you can't say, no, my loyalty is absolutely behind the Constitution of the United States of America, then you should not be in government. And here's the biggest thing that has to happen. This one happens with us. We have to stop going, oh, well, that's just politics. Because this is not politics. This is not politics. This goes right directly to the soul of our nation. A line now has been crossed. And it was crossed with Ilhan Omar, and we said nothing. And now it's been crossed with Congresswoman Ramirez. And she crossed two lines. Her husband, according to Rolling Stone, is an illegal. So are we going to hold the line or not? Because if we don't know where our allegiance is, then we no longer know who we are. We no longer believe in anything anymore because America doesn't matter. You can serve as a defender of the Constitution and our sovereignty and not believe in the Constitution or our sovereignty. That makes no sense. You know what that means? That means retardation has gone airborne. That's what that means. That we have become so susceptible to retardation that we can't see our own suicide. But that's what that story is really all about. And we have a choice. So what are you going to do about it today? I suggest you stand up and you let your voice be heard. All right. Let me tell you about Relief Factor. Some days pain just ruins your life. It decides how long you sleep, what plans you cancel. I have to tell you, I'm going back to Dallas because I'm meeting with 2 back surgeons next week because I can't take it anymore. My doctor said to me years ago, they said, I'm not gonna cut into your back until you beg me for it. That was 20 years ago, until you beg me for it. I'm to the point of begging. I'm absolutely to the point of begging now. And there is some pain that nothing can touch. Nothing can touch. But I'll tell you, Relief Factor has given me a long, long life away from pain in my back, and especially this weird pain that I had in my hands that would just, I couldn't even pick up a pencil. I couldn't put my fingers around a pencil and write for more than a couple of sentences. The pain was so bad. That's still gone with Relief Factor. Relief Factor, it is a daily supplement created by doctors that helps support a healthy inflammatory response to your body, which matters because most of the aching and the stiffness that slows you down, that's inflammation. And Relief Factor is designed to go after it naturally without prescriptions, without a bunch of side effects, without giving up your sanity. It's not magic. It's not a quick fix, but if you're ready to do something, really do something, then this might be your moment. Don't negotiate with your pain anymore. Instead, make it sorry that it ever messed with you. You can give their 3-week quick start a try. It's only $19.95. Just visit relieffactor.com or call 1-800-4RELIEF. That's 1-800-4RELIEF. It's relieffactor.com. 10 seconds, station ID. So, Stu, how do you read this Ramirez story?
It seems pretty obvious, right? When you really should have loyalty to the United States first when it comes to being certainly a lawmaker, and you'd think. I'm not surprised that this stuff happens, but I'm surprised that it's being admitted, right? I don't know if she thought, well, I'm on foreign territory and I'm speaking in a different language, no one's going to notice, but like. You're not supposed to admit that you might just care about another nation more than you do the one you're working for, right? It's like, if you're working at McDonald's, you're not supposed to say, well, I mean, I'm a Burger King guy first. That's
insane.
I just love the Whopper.
You're a priest, not just a parishioner. You're a priest in the Catholic Church, and you're like, really, my heart is with the Methodist Church. What?
Right.
Maybe you can go sit in a pew, but you're not the one to do the mass.
Yeah, and like you can care. You can you can have a certainly you can even have an order of preference when it comes to foreign nations. You can say, you know what, my heritage comes from this country, and I really do care about what happens there. That's fine. But to put it above America is really, and I'm sure she'll say, oh, no, I didn't mean I was putting it above. I'm sure there's always an excuse. This is the one lesson I've learned in all the years doing the show with you, Glenn, is no matter what happens, they always have an excuse. There's always some justification as to why they're not doing the thing they're doing. But like, quite clearly, this has been said. I mean, I would argue Ilhan Omar is a more egregious example even than this person I've literally never heard of until today, which is another.
But she's on the Homeland Security Committee.
I'm not saying she's a nobody. It's just know, she just hasn't been one of those people who's necessarily tried to draw attention to herself on MS. You know, she's not Jasmine Crockett, right? Like where she's on TV all the time talking about this. Oftentimes, that's where a lot of the damage comes from. Jasmine Crockett is a giant zilch. She'll never amount to anything. No one listens to her. No one even, she is more of a.
She's a clown.
She's a clown. She's a social media personality rather than an actual congresswoman. A lot of these people go in there. They don't look for the attention. They don't want everyone looking at them and what they're doing all the time. And those are the people that are honestly crafting a lot of the legislation and the stuff that winds up bothering us the most, and we don't pay attention to them. So I'm glad there's some attention being drawn here.
Well, we'll see whether anything's going to happen. I mean, honestly, we as people need to stop saying, I'm hyphenated American. That's the first thing that happens. We got to stop saying that. I've never said I'm German American. Out of your shame, you've never said you're French American.
I mean,
which is, you know what I'm saying, Stu? Brigier.
Look, neither Germany nor France have the best histories.
I know.
I'd argue.
I know. Well, neither do Italians, but Italians are proud of it.
That's true.
That's just because they're like, yeah, spaghetti.
Yeah, be the food.
And you're like, yeah, you're right.
You guys made some mistakes in that one war, but gosh, lasagna?
It's incredible. And the Germans are like, what about our German chocolate cake?
Well, that's pretty good, too.
This is Glenn Beck.
All right, let me tell you about our sponsor. It's Patriot Mobile. Now, picture this smoky, dim-lit room, deep underground leather chairs, ominous laughter, and sitting around a big conference table, there are big mobile executives from Verizon, AT&T, T-Mobile, and they're all huddled together like cartoon villains, twirling and twisting their mustaches and petting their cats. And you know what they're discussing. How they're using the money that you send them every month to fund woke political campaigns, and how you're funding all the things you're against. That's how they're donating to groups that actively oppose your values, throwing money at causes that make you wonder how you accidentally signed up to sponsor the end of Western civilization. Now, Patriot Mobile is the only one that doesn't do that. Patriot Mobile is the only Christian conservative wireless provider in America. They use the same cell towers as the big guys. You get excellent coverage, but they support the values you believe in. So right now, you can activate in minutes. Switching is easier than ever. You keep your number, keep your phone, or upgrade. It's time to make the switch today. PatriotMobile.com/Beck or 972-PATRIOT. Promo code Beck, free month of service. PatriotMobile.com/Beck, 972-PATRIOT.
Head over to GlennBeck.com and get subscribed to the free email newsletter. Get all these stories every day. It's free at GlennBeck.com.
So here's a story that I think if we don't stop and pay attention to right now, it's one small story. It may seem like nothing to a lot of people, but if we don't pay attention to it right now, I don't think we recognize what it means to be human in a generation from now, if that long. Publicity hound Jim Acosta just did an interview. I can't even say that. even know what you would call it, did a publicity stunt, not with a witness, not a grieving parent. He sat down with an AI ghost. It's a AI recreation of a 17-year-old kid named Joaquin Oliver. He was murdered in the Parkland massacre. And then he called it journalism. He called it a conversation, but it wasn't. It was neither. It wasn't even human. Let me play this grotesque pantomime for you. Listen.
Joaquin, I would like to know what your solution would be for gun violence.
Great question. I believe in a mix of stronger gun control laws, mental health support, and community engagement. We need to create safe spaces for conversations and connections, making sure everyone feels seen and heard. It's about building a culture of kindness and understanding. What do you think about that?
I think that's a great idea, Joaquin.
You mentioned that is the worst thing I've ever seen in my life. I had seen all the headlines. I hadn't actually seen the.
Now it is
I'm sorry.
It's so bad. It's funny at this point, right? It's just horrible. I want to put this into perspective. This is a digital ventriloquist act. He's a puppet. It's the image of a dead kid, long buried, animated like a puppet for the politics of those who are still living. Now, let me ask you something that, we haven't dared to ask out loud yet, and that is, what does it mean? What does it truly mean to be alive if in death you're more useful? What are the Republicans saying, the Democrats saying right now to some of the people in Congress? They're saying you need to take a bullet. Why? Because you're more useful if you're dead, if somebody assassinates you. So what does it mean to be alive if in death you're more useful? What does it mean when your image, your voice, your soul, as captured by a memory or photograph, can be summoned back again, not by God, but by algorithms and agenda? I hate to go all religious on you, but I have to tell you, if this isn't the making of a graven image, I don't know what is. Thou shalt not make a graven image. You don't make for yourself an idol or any likeness of what is in heaven above or on earth beneath. The Native Americans they would never let you take your picture. Some of them, some tribes, would never let you take their picture because they thought it would steal your soul. This doesn't have a soul. This is taking your image, bringing you back to life without a soul. When man starts creating a likeness to wield power or emotion, we stop serving God and we start serving ourselves. And I'm going to be generous here and say, don't blame the parents. I don't question their grief in any way, shape, or form. But this is no longer theirs. This is not their son. This is a political puppet. The minute Joaquin's AI avatar spoke political opinions into a camera, it stopped being about grief and became propaganda. And this, my friend, is only the beginning. What happens when governments use AI resurrected faces for propaganda? What happens when terrorists use deep fake hostages? Hostages who are already dead, pleading for help. You don't think that could happen with Hamas? You don't think that Hamas couldn't have made an image? In fact, the video that we saw last week could have very well been AI, and the kid could be dead. Now, it's not, but that's what's coming. What happens when we begin to trust synthetic testimony over actual human experience? This isn't just immoral. This is very, very dangerous. This is soul erasing. This is post-human. You are entering a world now that it's post-human. This is the dystopian world, and we're just beginning to step into it. We're entering an age where the dead can be programmed to speak the words of the living, where grief is nothing more than a marketing tool, where death is not your end, but just a data set now to be parsed and projected and used politically. And here's the real sick part of this. The more meaningful your death, the more valuable your ghost. If that doesn't shake you to your core, nothing's going to. If this doesn't wake you up to the dangers of AI, nothing will. If this doesn't wake you up to go, oh, dear God, I've got to get back to the basics. I have to start asking the questions, what does it mean to be human? Nothing will. We have to draw really strong ethical hard lines in the sand on the use of AI, the use of likeness of the dead. It should be codified into law internationally. And I'm not saying, you're not bringing characters back. You're not bringing things back to, show them in movies or for entertainment or whatever. But when you're bringing dead children back, I don't know. I think there's a problem here. There's a problem. We also have to teach our kids discernment here, critical thinking, and more than critical thinking, moral reasoning has got to be taught. We need a generation that knows the difference between the real and artificial, between the sacred and the synthetic, because that's going to be blurred. All of it is blurred. How long before a Jim Acosta clown isn't the one doing it, but somebody serious? Transparency from media, from tech, not after the fact, but before the images even appear on the screen. Now, to his credit, he did say this was AI, of course, but it's a ghost. We have to reawaken the soul, the concept of the soul. This is why I've said for years that Ray Kurzweil is one of the scariest guys I've ever met, because he doesn't believe in the soul. He believes that what you just saw is just as real as the real kid. The soul can't be copied. It can't be coded. It can't be commodified, because we lose our soul in our culture. If we lose it in our culture, in our politics, in our mourning, in our journalism, then you got nothing left. And doesn't Joaquin Oliver deserve dignity in life? Everybody knows he deserved peace in death, right? What he didn't deserve is to be animated by code to deliver a political message like a branded mascot. I'm sorry, but if this is the parents doing, the parents, shame on you. Shame on you. I understand your grief as much as a parent can that hasn't lost a child. I understand your grief, but this is sick. You know where this road leads? It leads to a future where grief can be licensed, where every dead child becomes a campaign, and where being alive no longer requires a pulse. Just a well-trained AI model. You never died. That's not compassion. That is not progress. That is hell wearing the mask of empathy. Shame on you, Jim Acosta. Because out of all the people that could have done this, you're only doing it for PR. You're only doing it because you need the attention. It's sick. And Americans have to stand up and say, no more. You have to, at least in your personal life, make a decision. What is life and what is death worth? Back in a minute. All right, let me tell you about leaf filter. So you could keep drawing straws, every time, you have to go up on the ladder and clean out the gutters to see who's going to fall. You could keep, accidentally snipping your wife's straw a little shorter when she's not looking just to make sure she loses. But here's the thing. She's going to figure that out. And one day she's going to grab that tiny little straw and look at you and go, okay, fun's over, funny guy. And then you're up there on the ladder. And you're wobbling on the ladder trying to scoop out the gross, slimy leaf burrito while trying not to die. Oh, I know. I've been there. You could just call Leaf Filter. That's easy. They install a simple, permanent system that keeps leaves and debris out of your gutters for good. And the next time your wife says, hey, aren't you supposed to clean the gutters out this weekend? You can just say, actually, I called Leaf Filter. Already done. Don't spend your summer worrying about the gutters. Schedule your free inspection and get up to 30% off your entire purchase at leaffilter.com/GlennBeck. That's a free estimate, free inspection, and 30% off at leaffilter.com/GlennBeck. Leaffilter.com/GlennBeck. See representative for warranty details.
Freedom's like a wild horse. If you don't grab the reins every once in a while, you're liable to catch a hoof to the face. And trust me, that ain't pleasant. Beck will be right back after this.
Well, you probably think your home's title is safely locked away somewhere. Honestly, criminals have already discovered probably where it is. They've discovered a way to take it from you, and they're becoming one of America's fastest growing scams. This is what happens. Thieves don't even need to set foot on your property. They just use AI to perfectly copy your signature and then fake a notary seal. Then they file fraudulent paperwork at the county office, which processes it without ever asking a single question. Nobody checks, nobody calls. Your home's title is quietly shifted out of your hands into theirs, and once they've grabbed your title, these criminals can borrow large sums of money against your home's equity and take the cash and vanish, and then where are you? Well, you've got no idea that this is even going on until foreclosure notices or loan defaults start showing up. And the good news is you can stop it before it happens if you go to HomeTitleLock.com. HomeTitleLock.com/Stu. If you go there, use the promo code BLAZE, you'll immediately receive a free title history report to confirm your home hasn't already been targeted. A lot of the times that happens to people where they didn't even know this happened to them. And then they finally realize a little bit too late. Plus, you get $1 million triple lock protection, including round-the-clock monitoring, instant alerts for suspicious activity, and up to $1 million of legal support if fraud occurs. AI is changing the world. Don't let it change the name on your home's title. Go to HomeTitleLock.com. Use the promo code BLAZE. HomeTitleLock.com. The promo code is BLAZE.
Welcome to the Glenn Beck Program. So Stu and I are just discussing which one was more lifelike, Jim Acosta or Joaquin Oliver, who's been dead now since Parkland.
It's hard to measure that, honestly.
It is.
Acosta is, certainly brainless. I don't know if he's lifeless completely, but it seems that way, certainly in this clip. I can't... Jim Acosta should go back and create an AI version of his younger self and warn himself about what his career is going to become. Like that, he should go.
I don't think he'll care. I don't think he would.
You don't
care.
think his younger self would care?
No. Well, now he would. Now he would, because now it's like, Jim, you're going to do a big deal in Washington. You're going to make the tickets for free. You're going to have You're going to invite homeless people to the show in the theater. And no one's going to show up.
And no one. I mean, it's just absolute failure. I mean, this is a guy who, there's a certain class of let me just put in air quotes, journalist that sort of only survives because of like the network structure, right? Like there's, they get a job, they kind of come up under a big, company. They never really make a lot of waves. They never really do anything impressive, but, they need people who be on the air and report on stories, and they kind of just stick around. Right. And Acosta thinks of himself as like above that. like a guy with a dynamic personality who's really making a difference that people really want to hear from. And those people do exist. He's just not one of them. So I think him trying to this is an incredibly pathetic stunt where he's trying and demanding people talk about him and get his attention. And any normal human being would realize this is just a terrible idea. Forget that it's distasteful. Forget that it's, this grotesque thing that you're trying to do to make a political point. Everyone on earth, I think, would realize it's just a terrible idea and is going to go horribly. And he is not apparently smart enough to do that.
And it's not even that. It's not that. I mean, if you could take the essence of who he was, it still would not be him. But if you had, because we're building a Glenn AI for me, and it's based solely on the words that I have spoken or written on stage, on radio, on television for the last 30 years. And that's all it can pull from. So it at least is reflective of what I believe. But that's not what they did. They didn't download. I mean, how much did they have that they could download? Not enough to make that. This is a puppeteer. He is a virtual meat sock.
Yeah, I mean,
it is so unbelievably distasteful.
The Parkland was middle school? It's been so long now. I
thought that was high school.
Was it high school? It was young high school. I just don't believe you're going to have highly formed opinions on gun violence policy. Right, it's a parents.
That's the parents.
Look, I think you're right to give all sorts of grace to the parents. And I know probably there's some people who would disagree with us on this, but I mean, if you think about losing your kid, you're probably going to do all sorts of crazy stuff for the rest of your life. I don't know. I mean, I don't know. I can't even imagine going through something like that and how I would react to it, probably really badly. So
I hope I never do.
God forbid. And if you do, there's all sorts of built-in excuses, frankly, that I'll provide you, and lots of grace. I don't know. I mean, this. To me, this is the type of thing you should probably catch as a bad idea, but it's really hard to put yourself in that situation. So, it's much, much worse to talk about Jim Acosta, who's taking their pain, their suffering, and their honestly bad decision making, and using it for his own PR tour. He is.
That's all it is.
So pathetic. I don't know that there's a more pathetic figure in the media today, and I'm including Keith Olbermann in that discussion.
I was just thinking that. I was thinking this is beyond Keith Olbermann.
Wow.
Who I just have zero respect for.
This is Glenn Beck.